Africans, listen to me as Africans. And you non-Africans, listen to me with open mind.
I came here in 1971, just fresh out of college, with my companion Arnie Zane. And he and I were here being young expatriates. He was a photographer, I was nobody. I began taking dance classes here, of course, with a man whose name was Cor Poolman, who used to be not too far from the Waterloo Plain, doing a kind of jazz dance or something. And we used to clean banks for a living. We cleaned banks at the Amro Bank, at the Vesperzijdestraat. And I could speak a little Dutch because everybody was North African and they couldn't speak English. So the only thing we could share was Dutch, but I've forgotten it all now.
Thank you, man. I love your song. Thank you.
I lived in Amsterdam for a very long time. It's too long actually. I should be able to have this whole conversation with you in Nederlands. Maar ja, ik heb niet zoveel woorden. Maar ik woon in Amsterdam voor 8 jaar. Ja, I was here as regisseur, ook speler. And I also studied at Das Arts.
Fela had a very strong and particular take on what it meant to be what he called an authentic African man. He said an authentic African man is polygamous. Fela also believed that it was a political thing that he behaves like an African man. And he also thought of it as a protest against the conservative elite. He was going to do everything he could to show them that he disapproved, that they were hypocrites, and he was authentic. The women around Fela say that Fela never forced them to do anything. Many of them speak, they say they like Fela, they think he's generous. They obviously must have been a good lover. He talks about being able to satisfy 2 women a day in 2-week cycles. Okay, that's what he says. I don't know. But the women said that he was a good man. He was a good father. He was very tough. He had attitudes about women that we would not agree with. But everybody there seemed to be getting what they wanted. You realize, of course, that the banners that are being put around here, for our touring version, we don't use those banners, but we do for Carré. It feels like a place where people come to have a good time, relax. It's a pop house, isn't it? Yes. And it's kind of, the circle is scary, it's frightening, because the circle feels like a big void, and either you fill that void or that void sucks the life out of you. So this is a very special theater, and it's going to take all of his charisma and the dancers to make those last seats up there. We hope they're selling to make people up there feel that they're close to the stage. That is a challenge.
You got that right? Thank you.
The Shrine, this is the name of Fela's club. And so now here we are, turning the Carré into the Shrine.
The Shrine was a nightclub, yes, with beautiful women and people drinking and smoking and having a good time. The shrine was also what we call a bully pulpit, Fela's political ideas. And then the shrine was a Yoruba shrine. Fela was self-described as a Yoruba priest. So he was doing all three things. So this is a nightclub like no other nightclub. I was very prejudiced at first because I thought that Fela was a fantastic performer and a singular individual, but I thought the music was what I call dismissively Afro jazz. Very nice. Only then, when I was able to take it apart and read his lyrics that were determined to speak about reality in Africa today, did I realize that it was something other than a glib jazz riff with an Afrobeat. It took some education on my part to understand it was not just Afro jazz.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Act 1 beginner's call. Your call please, full company. Your Act 1 beginner's call, full company. Electric, sound, video, wigs and wardrobe. Stand by please, electric, sound, video, wigs and wardrobe.
Kijk, dit zijn de acteurs al namelijk, dus dat gaat zo staan.
The story writer and I decided the story will be limited to only 2 hours. And in this 2 hours, you meet Fela as a showman, you meet Fela as a presidential candidate, you meet Fela as a lover, you meet Fela as a kind of a hero to Nigerians. And then you see Fela in a very tragic light when a horrible thing is done to him and his compound.
Say yeah, yeah. You know, after what happened to us, many people said that I would never perform again. But here we are. Thank you. And whether you have been following us all along or you have become curious and have come here to see what we do in the shrine, we are happy that so many of you could make it out tonight, especially considering how dangerous this area is and how dangerous we are. Or so says Reuters and the Nigerian government.
In our show, Fela, one thing that's happening in this showman, this peacock, is that he is grieving. In our show, he is grieving. He is being Fela, the showman, but he has grief and he has guilt. Because a terrible thing happened to everybody because of him. That is something that you have to see through all of the color and the sexuality. This man has guilt and he is grieving.
Yansh, also known as the bass. Now, here is where we play what we call the underground spiritual game. And in order for you to play with us, You have to stand up now. Now is the time. Welcome na the shrine. Aha. Yeah.
You know, the African body, the African body has been used in so many different ways. And it can be used derogatory. It can be used in a way that can make people have many questions about what is really the purpose. So Bill said, how can we show all of this nyash, shaking, nyash, is what we call it, bile. How can we show this bile shaking in a way that can help people understand what's really going on here? So we figured we might as well just teach people how to shake their own bile. So, well, bring your dancing shoes.
We are all standing now. And now we go underground. Aha. Here is a clock. Here. And here we go. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Yeah. Oh,
He grew up at a time where people had much optimism. But then he saw that optimism ripped apart by greedy, brutal men. So there is this strong-willed, self-involved artist in the middle who has a conscience and then gets a taste of a mission, a reason to make music, a reason.
Zombie no go unless you tell him to go. Zombie no go stop unless you tell him to stop. Zombie no go turn unless you tell him to turn. Zombie no go think unless you tell him to think. Zombie. Zombie no go unless you tell him to go. Zombie no go stop unless you tell him to stop.
Stop.
Zombie no go turn unless you tell him to turn. Zombie no go think unless you tell him to think. Zombie, oh zombie.
Fela, I believe, felt that his entire life was an underground spiritual game. It is as much about self-realization as it is about politics, as it is about justice. And in his songs, that's why his songs, it's very important to listen to the words. Because the words are oftentimes quite different than what the body is doing. The words are about tragic things and sad things, but yet this was music to make people happy, moving, dancing, sexy. That was his method, his means. And I think with the aid of this brilliant artist, we do that in this show.
I am Fela Kuti, he who carries death in his pouch, who no mortal can ever kill. And we are not going anywhere. We're going to stay right here. And we're going to be here tomorrow, the day after that, and the day after, and forever.
Voor meer informatie over de toegift vanuit Carré of de voorstellingen in Koninklijk Theater Carré, ga naar de website www.carré.nl.